Yeah. We back at it.
It's the Chief, Kaseek Ortiz.
And Tyrant333. And this is Figure It the Fuck Out.
Yes, sir.
Back at it. We got another good topic for you today. We're discussing everything music. And we got a good one for you today. We're talking about Universal and the kind of different changes that are going on that are affecting the music industry that are pertaining to Universal. The biggest topic being, I want to say, is the big layoff. That big layoff, I'm hearing they're firing a lot of people, execs, A&Rs, you name it, janitors. They're telling them, yo, your parking spot's gone that you used to have that was there before.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So I guess they're reporting that it's like kind of like a whole shift. They're saying it's a strategic move, which I'm sure every business has, whatever, their normal layoffs whenever they're not making enough money. But supposedly this layoff's going to help them save about $270 million on an annual cost. And Universal is huge. So like Universal owns multiple companies like, Republic Records, I think Capitol's on them, and a few other ones. So it's not like it's just Universal, right? I think there's people literally leaving Def Jam, which is under Universal. So it's a huge situation, and I think it's really going to open up that lane for a lot of these execs that are going to be leaving, because not just execs, these are, these are marketing and promotional teams. These are potential A&Rs, potential, whatever you want to call them, people that run, distribution side of things, or administration. Yeah.
And people with clout and time in the industry.
I think that's what I read, was that the co-president right now that is sitting in Capitol Records, I think they're stepping down as well. And I'm not sure if it's...
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's... it's kind of hard to be like, oh, we're laying you off, but then somebody's stepping down. Like, I don't know if it's... they're getting laid off, or if they were seeing the layoffs happen, so they're like, fuck this, I'm jumping ship.
Is it a situation like, y'all ain't paying me? Where's the bag at? Or is it a situation like, we're going to go in another direction with our leadership and that type of,
Right. I'm not at that table, so it's hard for me to even speak on that, but it's definitely opening that. It's opening the floodgates.
Discussion in these boardrooms, like, there's a gap here. So you got the older baby boomers, maybe a little bit older, and the people right under them that right before this technology boom, there was a different way everything was run within the music industry, like we've talked about in some of the previous episodes, and just in life in general. They want to stick to those guns.
Yeah, a lot of them.
And then you got new people coming straight out of college, interns and stuff like that. So maybe we're just seeing that type of shift also.
Who don't really love music for that matter, but they just know the business or think they know the business, so they just automatically. Sometimes there's people that go to these schools or colleges or YouTube universities that see one way. They learn this one thing. They learn this one thing and they think like this is golden rule. This is why I kind of like science and stuff like that, because in science they say like, hey, if you do this, you might get this or you might get that. There's always that room for error. Mm-hmm. Where it's like a lot of these businesses, they run off of no room for error. So like if you learn whatever is inside this textbook, that means that shit is 100% correct and that's God. And this information can't possibly be wrong. Yeah. I think that a lot of these A&Rs, I guess you could say, or just the execs that might be laying off, I think a lot of them are really going to start coming out, and I think they're going to start coming out of this situation either going to other label situations, or they're going to get hired at independent distributions or independent record labels, and then they're going to offer label type services because they're coming from, the top tier, distribution company or musical distribution company, you could say.
If we're sitting here wondering about what the next step is for some of these music execs, they already have some type of contingency plan and probably saw and forecasted this, maybe 5-10 years, even further on before this, so hopefully a lot of them made the moves to kind of pivot to something else, but some of them didn't. And like you said, others will use their clout to make other monumental moves within the industry. And this is just the beginning. We're seeing changes in every industry across the world right now.
Right.
Not even just music. AI is making a big change in a lot of different things in industries. So you got to think they're bringing in these robots.
To touch on that, I think Tyler Perry stopped. He was already having his like location where he's building his studios, but I think he stopped production of his studios because AI can do so much with video that's almost like, hold up, do I even need to create all this extra unnecessariness?
Yeah,
I could type in a prompt and get high definition, whatever I want.
That Chat GPT is going wild right now.
It is. I use it. I use it like every day. I haven't used Googlebot too much, but BART or whatever it is, I think they switched it to Gemini. But I definitely use Chat GPT. Real heavy.
I heard someone, this is just a little off topic, but that Google, I heard there was a Google AI that went crazy and killed some scientists or something like that in a lab. This was within the past 6 months, this happened. And I heard this story. So,
that's crazy. I never heard that shit.
We got Terminators going on right now. Yeah. So be careful with that.
That's crazy.
Be careful with Siri. Be careful with the Google bot. All that.
We're getting definitely off topic with that shit. We can have a whole new conversation with that. But I definitely want to get back to the universal because I want to help artists out. Is that because it is happening, the shift that's happening, I see it like a 50-50. And what I mean by 50, I mean like 50% of it's good and then 50% of it's bad. And what I think is going to be great is the fact that there's actually people that do like have positions at these companies that actually do care about music and they do care about artists. So this might be the biggest, you can't even call it a setback. This might actually put them in a position to where like now they can actually win and really help artists like they thought they wanted to. So now they're going to be able to create distribution. Right. They're going to be able to, they're either going to be able to go to these independent distribution companies, or they're going to create their own and actually help people. But then there's the other half that, like I said, that read these books and they think that the only thing that works is what's in this book. You know, they can't think outside this box. And I think that would be the issue, is because a lot of those people are going to prey on the naive artists by convincing artists to either sign with them to do management deals, A&R deals, or sign on to their distribution or something.
And they have no intention of really even pushing them whatsoever.
Really building them up, or not even just saying building up, because I think that like they're naturally going to build them up, but they're so out of tune with independence that they won't know what to do with an independent artist. They'll treat them like, you need to be this kind of artist, and then mix the artist.
Changed and is dead at this point.
You don't have to be like, you could be Michael Jackson without having to be going through the Michael Jackson realm of things. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be all that extra shit. You can actually just be an independent artist and flourish. So I feel like there'll be that certain level where execs kind of treat artists a certain way. And artists is so fragile. Like I always look at us as artists as like a fragile piece of, like a porcelain doll, if you will, because we're always the first one to make this music, but always the first one to get screwed out of everything. And like I said in a few episodes before, it's like our songs are considered masters. And when we release this music onto DSPs, they are considered slaves. So it's like we're already conditioned.
Because that's what this whole world is built on, especially in the US. This is a capitalist society.
It is.
So every fundamental is built off capitalism. And you know, when it's built off that, even the US of A is a corporation.
It is.
Every state is is corporated. You know?
It is.
So music is corporated too. So when you step into their capitalist business realm, they got contracts, everything set in place.
Yeah.
That if you don't read the fine print, this is what you're getting into.
And they build the infrastructure, and it's hard to go against that infrastructure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you walk into somebody else's house and just have a seat, you can't tell them how their house is looking. You know, if you don't like the way their house looks, you have to get out of that infrastructure and go build your own. And I think that's honestly where we're kind of heading. To be honest, I think that's just what it is. I think a lot of these labels are kind of crumbling, and I don't want to say crumbling in like they're just folding up, packing their things and saying, we're done here. I just think that we're going back to the basics of, okay, it doesn't need to be this big. We don't need to have 100 people doing this.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these teams that are being built, like Lil Nas X, he only had a small group of marketers with him to get him to blow up.
Because you can reach so many people these days with social media. It's a real powerful thing.
And if you know how to run ads.
That, and if you're not being, you know, blackballed or whatever, shadow banned on whatever platform you're on.
I honestly don't believe in either one of those. I think people like to claim that they blackball people, but I don't really think that anybody.
Do you think
really
shadow
is.
ban's a thing?
I don't think shadow ban is actually a thing. I think even when we was having that little meeting yesterday with the crew, I honestly don't think that's a real thing.
So you don't think the platform, the algorithm, like favors a certain piece of content over another?
I think it favors, but that doesn't mean it's shadow ban. Like I could have easily said.
And that's the reverse though. Like if you don't do what they want you to under their guidelines, they're just gonna not show your stuff to the public.
Yeah, I think that happens, but that's not necessarily shadow banning.
What is that?
That's more so like, for example, I could use mine as saying it would be shadow ban because I posted bomb first, but I'm showing, all these crimes that were committed from police brutality and such like that. Obviously, the platform doesn't want to show a whole bunch of people getting shot and things like that. So naturally, like in a sense to them, they think I'm promoting
that was
violence.
A straight up ban.
That's like a straight up ban, but it's because it could be
like a shadow ban is like when you think you're good, like you think you're doing everything right, you're putting it out there, and it's just not getting shown to your followers or whatever for some reason.
Yeah,
and I actually saw a big thread on that, even with the Instagram. Instagram it ain't like the old Instagram.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, is that everybody that's you're even reading in these things are literally other creators. Like I've literally watched a whole interview with the owner of who runs Instagram, and he literally says that there's no shadow banning.
Why would he say there is? that would be retarded.
I mean, yeah,
and be like, we're shadow banning people. Yeah,
sure. If you want to look at it like that, but like these people are literally saying no. It's your content. If your content is just not reaching, and part of it is the algorithm because everybody's so focused on AI trying to, I guess, process your content for that matter. It's pretty much, you have no choice but to trust the AI to push that content, whether it picks up on it or not. But if the content is really, really good and it's really engaging and captivating, it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me. Some of the stuff that me and you were looking at on your brother's phone, you knew just right off rip. I never even seen that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that guy can't be necessarily shadow banned, but that guy his content was fire. You already know as soon as you see it,
his content.
Yeah,
I don't think
you see it, and you know for a fact it's gonna go. Now, if you want to have that real conversation, is like, now look at our content. Does our content look like that? Not really, and that might be the reason why we're not actually going. So, like, I could easily be the one that says, I've been having conversations with you, like, yo, I've been posting consistently. My Instagram's not growing, but my Facebook is, and like, what's going on? And I told you, I feel like I'm kind of getting banned. I even posted that video. And it's like I was getting banned. The only thing I didn't really seem to get banned on was Instagram.
Yeah,
Instagram out of all places, which I thought would have flagged it right off rip. YouTube said, no, we're not even putting this up. Facebook allowed it, but only gave me like 10 views. But it's because I was showing shooting.
Yep.
Which in a sense,
graphic
content, I get it, I understand it. I wasn't really playing by the policies and rules. So yeah, you're not going to show it. But on Instagram, it went slow, but then it started gradually growing.
Yeah.
So like it kind of flew under the radar. At the end of the day, where they are literally relying on this AI artificial algorithm to monitor what they're doing. And let's just say if there's like so many people across the world that is posting at the same time on Instagram, naturally, not everything is going to get caught. Some things are going to slip through the cracks.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe that post just kind of slipped under the crack on Instagram, but not everything else, it got caught. So I don't really feel like there's much of a shadow ban because it's really just the content base. Like, it's just going to go. The platform is literally made for posting. If you're posting good content, they're going to show it. It doesn't help them to shadow ban an account where they're not showing it to more users.
I disagree in the fact that I just think that if they don't like you or whatever, you did something they don't like, they could shadow ban you. I think it's a possibility. I don't think they shadow ban everybody, but I definitely think there's something there. I mean, there's probably a lot of worst case scenarios we could even talk about. People, and you get them, you can comment in the comments and talk about when you got shadow banned. Because I'm sure we got a lot of whiners that'll talk about that up in there too.
Yeah.
But, either way, just post the content.
I've seen it. You know what I'm saying? I've been into Reddit forums. I've been in TikTok forums and just like, not forums, but you know what I'm saying, in the comment section and watching everybody talk about it. And everything kind of just sounds the same. But then when you don't just read the comments. If you actually go to these people's profile, then you realize that they've been posting bullshit the whole time. It's kind of like, you're not really shadow banned. Your content is just trash.
Okay, so just to flip off that now. So the trash content, the good content, what about the content that was getting ripped off of TikTok, good or bad, getting tied back into that whole Universal thing? I mean, Universal seemed, if you were part of their catalog or had music that was affiliated with them in any way, shape, or form, they're getting ripped off for their own reasons. What do you think those reasons may be?
What do you mean by like ripped off? You mean like because the music is not on the platform?
Yeah.
That didn't have anything to do with that one individual artist. That was just a dick measuring contest between TikTok and Universal. I think
that's what I mean. Because we're talking about the whole Universal thing. So, how does that tie? So basically you're saying that all ties in just strictly because it's a business deal between TikTok and Universal that went sour.
They didn't ask any artist, hey, you still want your music on TikTok or do you want us to pull it off? The reason why we want to pull it off is because they're trying to give you guys this much. They didn't give no option.
Yeah.
They just said, fuck you, we're not doing that shit. We're not conforming, we're not complying, we're taking all this music. I think that shit opened up a can of worms for artists on those labels. Cause like you gotta understand, Universal is basically the umbrella. And there's all these other little entities under them. Like I said, Capitol Records, Def Jam. Def Jam is one of the biggest record labels that hip hop heads come to mind. But you gotta remember that shit is under Universal. Universal owns that. So when you're talking about ripping this music off, you're talking about Interscope Records. That means like Game Records. That means Tupac Records. That means Eminem Records, Drake Records.
A lot of legendary music.
Like music that everybody loves to listen to today. They're literally ripping it off these platforms. And I think because they're doing that, sure, that might be going on, but in this very moment and then in this time, it's literally creating a wide open lane for all independent artists. I already feel like independent artists already have a lane wide open.
It's getting
but
bigger.
When you take the competition away off these platforms, and what I mean by competition is that like I don't have to compete with a Drake. I don't have to compete with a 21 Savage or anything. Not that I am, but I don't have to because now I can just create content. And as long as it's fire, it's gonna go. As long as these artists aren't on the platform right now, independent artists literally have a time to flourish at this very moment.
Take advantage of it.
That kind of goes into
a moment in time, baby.
A full circle moment where Universal Music is creating their own platform, streaming platform, which I recently seen an article on, is that they're offering two services. And I don't know what's the difference between the services, but I know that they're offering a streaming service where you can pay them the same way you would a Spotify, Apple Music. You pay them $10 a month, and now you can stream the catalog that they own.
And that's a power play right there. That's a power play because, they're looking at it like, all right, we don't want to do business with TikTok, but all right, we have our own streaming service we're going to make. So let's break the game with that. So when they do that, they pull this whole huge catalog of artists over there, and then now they have that market cornered, and you can't go hear their music on TikTok for your sounds anymore.
Right.
So let's go over to the streaming service. You got to pay us whatever the price is to hear this, and we'll see how many people go along with that.
Right.
But that's a power play, the tug of war between them and TikTok, obviously going on in the backyard and in the boardrooms. They're really trying to have some competition going on.
Yeah.
And it might even be a little bit of a shot at Spotify also. Like, we want to take over the streaming realm completely. So let's get all our Universal artists, which is a huge catalog, and let's run this up. And with that comes a lot of different things because, like you said, Universal is huge. They own streaming farms, which artists, if you don't know streaming farms go on, then you need to keep doing your homework. But
I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point in some of these episodes. But yeah, they know the direct plug to a lot of these streaming farms that are boosting numbers, whether the artist knows about it or not. And Spotify is never really going to come out and say, yeah, we don't like this shit. even if they deep down don't like it, they're not really going to fully say like we don't like it, because it's more profitable for them to tell their shareholders, hey, we have 1 billion users on our platform and they're streaming this much. So you tell a shareholder that, they just picture that as like, oh, cha-ching, I just made mad money. They have 1 billion streamers on there and they're doing XYZ amount of numbers and my check is going to be fat. They're never going to be like, oh, you know, we say it's 1 billion, but realistically it's 200 million. 200 million is still good, but to sell shares of the company, they're going to be like, yeah, I want to hear that big number.
Everybody does.
And Universal Music owning a lot of that stuff or knowing the plugs or whatever the case may be, they're going to be able to utilize that under their own platform without any hiccups. Nobody's going to question it. Well, I mean, you know, the real thinkers and creators are going to question it, but a random regular consumer that just wants to hear Drake, they don't care about that.
Yeah.
They're not even looking for it at that aspect.
That's very interesting, you know, and you know, we'll see how that develops. That's gonna cause a huge revolution if, you know, how we're looking at it right now. And before, like we were saying, things used to develop. It took a couple years, maybe 5 to 10 years. Now we're in a landscape where things develop at a blink of an eye. From week to week, it almost seems like day to day.
It is. By the time this comes out, it might be totally different.
A deal might done got struck, and now everything's all changed.
Yeah.
Music's back up on TikTok, and everything's running business as usual, you know? So
I do think there's a major shift because, you know, before we like get off, I don't want to say get off that subject, but Universal is doing that. And then supposedly, well, I seen it today that supposedly these independent publishers are also not reconsidering doing another deal with TikTok. And I don't even know what these independent ones are. The only ones I could picture being independent is like maybe like a Cobalt, or some of these execs actually own publishing companies.
Yeah.
So when these people are saying like, we're not going to strike a deal with TikTok, that means at least they're doing the decency to hit artists up and saying like, hey, we don't plan on doing any business with these people anymore. So if you want to continue to have your music on these platforms and being able to collect your royalties off of this, you need to go hit up the platform in itself and then negotiate like your own individual deal.
Getting real ugly.
It's getting real ugly, but at the same time, I kind of look at that as like, some artists, they're going to crumble and fail. They're going to crawl up in the ball and they're going to die. But then for some other artists, it's literally going to teach you how to do it. Because now you're going to have no choice but to negotiate these deals. And you might do a bad deal, but at least you're putting your foot forward and failing fast.
Yeah. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of sink or swim with that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of artists that they don't know how to do none of this music stuff. They just come in and rap, you know?
Right. And then there's...
especially the ones signed like we're talking about.
And that's where these execs that are getting laid off, they're going to end up doing. Like I said, they're going to end up signing to either their own distribution platform, their own publishing companies. They're going to...
distribution companies must be winning these days.
Yeah.
Or especially with all the music that's being put out.
There is. And they know it.
But
they know it because, you know, like the TuneCores and stuff like that, not to bash, but I think because they understand and know this stuff, they're starting to act like they're the new label.
Yeah.
They're starting to act like, you know, I won't say too much on like for everybody else, but I know my personal experience, when they gave me trouble uploading my own cover, like they were trying to tell me I can't upload that cover. When I was like, yo, not only do I own it, I'm the one that created it from scratch. Like, who are you to curate? All you're supposed to do is be that lazy on for me to give my music and I want it to be uploaded.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be telling me no unless something's actually drastically wrong. You know, people are actually being told, no, we don't like the content of this music, so we're not going to distribute it. So it's like they're acting like the label. That's what labels do. You can be like, you can sign a record label right now and be like, yo, I'll give you one album. And then you give them 30 songs and you said, out of this, I'll give you guys 15 songs. But they said all 30 songs are trash. We don't like none of them.
Universal would pull right there.
Yeah. All the record labels have pulled that with some type of artist. You know what I'm saying? As long as the deal
But
is
the
structured
distribution, if you
properly.
got the deal with them, you're supposed to be able to just upload and
Yeah.
make sure the metadata is good and
Right.
get it cleared and
Right.
pump it out, get it on the release date.
That's where some of these like top tier distribution services matter, because for like a DistroKid, I know DistroKid is dope for people, but they are super infamous for having people that record on some bullshit on BandLab and instantly being able to upload it. It's like you didn't even consider quality. So like I understand there has to be some, not saying gatekeeping, but there has to be a little threshold like, hey, this doesn't really meet the standards as far as
like a security
quality.
check-in, like they got customs, like they got
like a TSA. Like, hey, this is kind of
not just everybody can go walk in here.
It looks like you woke up and just went on the mic and just released it, and now you're boosting streams by buying bots and shit.
Yeah. You know, that's a whole nother facet of thing. And even the distribution companies, a lot of them, if you really tap into them and look into the back end, they offer different things that label services is what they call them, where they can help market your record. They can do a lot of different things, graphic work, different things, depending on the distribution company, where they can help you try to boost your music career in different forms. So look out for that on all your different distributors too, because that's where it comes in that they try to act like labels. Some of them are basically label. If you look at like Empire, you know, they're signing people and stuff.
Yeah, so they have playlist pitching and all that stuff like they do. Did we talk about that during our distribution episode?
I don't think we got too much into that, no.
Well, like, because of the whole streaming fraud stuff that's been popping out, like a lot of people that were uploading music through DistroKid were also having their music ripped off of these platforms. And a lot of them are claiming that, hey, I used, for some of the artists that don't know what is on the back end of DistroKid, they actually offer like a playlisting service, and you can like spin the wheel. It's kind of like a wheel of fortune. You spin the wheel, it helps you. I don't even think they do it anymore, but you would be able to spin this wheel. If you won, you'd basically get put on some type of playlist. But if that playlist has bots on it, these people are getting these records pulled off of these platforms and then not getting paid off of this. And then basically, I guess you could say, blackballing these artists to making it hard for them to upload new music. They're claiming like, hey, you played around with fraudulent streams and now we're ripping your song off. But then these people are like, but I used your service.
Yeah.
So it's almost like catch-22, because it's like you just baited me into the service. You took my money. It's like a dirty game. It's like you take my money to distribute through you and pay all these little extra fees on the back end just for you to rip my music off, tell me you're not paying me my money. But you kind of have an incentive to do that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother scam in itself.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot of them, you know? It seems like a money pit.
It is. And that's why I think a lot of these other services actually kind of matter. Like when I say these other services, I mean these distribution companies that might not charge a fee, or they charge like those percentages. You know, I think that's where that percentages kind of comes in play, because they might be taking a percentage off of your catalog, but they're offering you top tier services. Whereas like if everybody's signing up for DistroKid at $20 a month, for one, you have to know that the level of customer service that you're going to get is probably slim to none, and that the quality being uploaded is people that can only afford $20 a year.
Yeah, which is going to be bad.
Yeah, a whole bunch of shitty artists just doing shitty shit.
Let's group up and just throw shit against the wall and just upload these records.
Right.
And
my shit is shinier than yours.
Yeah, definitely have to have the quality there. That streaming service that we were touched on with Universal, we'll see how that pans out. And, you know, a lot of these other things that are happening in the industry, I would say.
What else do we want to bring up with that?
I don't know. I say we'll let them just figure it the fuck out. Watch the news. You know, we're going to hit them with another topic, but that's it for the Universal one, I think, what we got. It's a lot of shifts happening on TikTok within people being laid off. The big layoff is what we call it. And, you know,
not on TikTok, but universal.
Yeah, universal.
Yeah. TikTok is wide open right now.
TikTok's wide open because the artists that got ripped off of TikTok. So there's a lot of space for independents to start eating on there. So get on there, start uploading.
If I had any advice, and I need to take my own advice, is to be uploading so much more onto TikTok if you got it. And if you don't got it, you need to start getting to it before they do strike that deal. Because once all that music takes over, gets put back into there, it'll make it a lot harder. And you never know. This little dick measuring contest that they're doing, you know, Universal Music supposedly owns like 70%. At least I think it was. I don't know the exact quote, but you know what I'm saying? People can literally look that shit up if they really feel like it and put it in the comments to let me know. But you could, if they're saying that, you know, they have 70% of the music that's pretty much out there or own majority of it, that's a huge chunk of money not being generated at TikTok. So like
it's a power play again.
It's a power play. It can almost shut them down. And I don't think they're gonna shut down. I think they're gonna I think they're bully.
TikTok was gonna figure it out, and Universal's gonna figure it out.
Yeah. I think if anything,
they're like, we're losing a lot of money to Spotify. We could be keeping it.
Right. And my personal
we're losing
belief,
a lot of money to TikTok. We could be keeping it.
I think TikTok would rather have the independence anyways. So if anything, I think they're going to entice the artists, hey, post on our platform more. We will put more eyes on you. Also, if you run ads, we'll make it cheaper for you, which will mean that more artists will be more prone to be like, you know what, I'm just going to dump more money into TikTok.
They're battling with each other.
TikTok will end up being independently funded by independent artists.
Yeah.
It's like a Kickstarter.
They're paying the live streamers now too on TikTok. So, you know, the people streaming, that's another way of getting into the bag. But, you know, there's a lot of things going on just if you pay attention. And then in the back end, you got YouTube competing with it all, you know, with the YouTube shorts.
I feel like YouTube is still going to be like king because owned by Google, and you just have all this SEO, and
YouTube is a whole search engine in itself now. Just like it's the thing that it's owned by, which is Google, you know? So
I think if TikTok allows because on YouTube, you can like watch a video, scroll up, and then continue using your iPhone. I know Android users probably already had that, but iPhone, it's a big deal when you can watch a video, flick off of it, but while you're watching this, you can hop on your email or check Google or hop on Facebook or whatever. But if TikTok allows that shit, I think it's going to be another wave of like, oh no, TikTok is at your throat.
I would say keep your eyes peeled for all the changes, and we'll be giving them to you here at GGF and figuring it the fuck out.
Yes, sir.
Stay tuned.
Figure it the fuck out.